Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. It is Mr. Cowboys Fan. Of course, before we proceed, leave a like and subscribe. It is I, Mr. Cowboys Fan, where we talk about cowboy things. Alright, so this is going to be Late Night Talk, episode 22. I actually made Late Night Talk episode 22 last night, but basically long story short, I was trying to, I gotta figure out, y'all are gonna, eventually figure out, whatever format that I decided to change, because I want to make this a little bit more, I feel like it's a little too vanilla, so basically, you guys will, of course, find out, I'm trying to figure out, because I did, a video last night where I basically, recorded, I put in, a bunch of different clips, clips of Cowboys, highlights and stuff like that, and then I also, put in some background music while I was discussing, the different topics that I was talking about yesterday night. But because I feel like, the format and stuff that I've been doing, I just felt like was a little too vanilla. So, it gets a little bit, I'm sure boring just, having to listen to a video and seeing the same old image throughout the entire 30.5-minute video. So I tried to change it up a little bit and, put in different clips, different, footage and stuff throughout the video. Pretty much, that's what I did. But then when I uploaded the video, I saw, on the video it said that it was copyright. So, I'm just like, dang. So I'm kind of, I'm not going back to what I was doing before. I want to still change, but, you guys will, of course, find out, of course, whichever, new format that I decided to choose. But either way, so I wanted to talk about Trevon Diggs. Obviously, we kind of discussed Trevon Diggs a little bit, of course, the other night, but that was because that was one video. All right, that was one video, and I'm just like, look, he looks really good. He looks solid. And I wasn't even thinking about that, but I was thinking about, well, maybe I did sort of discuss it a little bit as far as what I'm talking about is as far as some of the, twists and turns and change of direction that he was, of course, doing in the workout video. But my one concern that I was talking about is it's a lot different, turning and, running behind cones, turning and running around cones, my fault. But, yeah, it's a whole lot different compared to going up against another player, receiver, one-on-one, and not knowing if he's going to break right, break left. You have to be able to react with that leg, that ACL. And, like that's pretty much what it is. Well, that was my concern because in the video that I saw, the, training video that I saw, it showed him doing a little bit of, like change of direction and stuff like that. But he was doing that in space, just kind of individually by himself. And I'm just like, well, what about when, like he's going to be going up against another player, another receiver, where he has to be able to be reactive to whatever move that receiver makes, whether he breaks left or right, and how that ACL is going to, of course, how his body is going to react to that. And that is what's going to be most important. Well, he started posting more videos, even more skill training videos. I mean, dude thinks that he's Shaun T out here. But, either way, yeah. And I saw one in particular that showed him going up against somebody, and basically, moving everywhere that he would go, whether he broke left or right, and, stuff like that, doing like your usual, like typical receiver, sort of route tree, just kind of like moving with him every which way that he goes. So I saw that, and now that gives me a whole different, like vision. Now you have me really confident. I was already pretty confident, but I still did have my concerns about what he would do against another, against another person, against another, person, as far as, like having to react, how his body reacts to, you know, like if they, move left or right, so, I saw that video, yesterday and another one today, and I'm like, okay, forget I think he's ready. I think I think he's ready. He will be ready week 1 of the regular season. Like, understand, we are still and we're, pushing towards mid-July, but we're not at truly mid-July. We're like at that early stage and middle part of July right now. So he's still got plenty of time to continue to train and work and continue to, rehab that leg to where he can truly get back to his dominant shutdown ways. So either way, here's the thing. I think that Trevon Diggs, I think he's going to lead the league in interceptions this year. You want to know why? Because I think teams are going to test him early on because they're going to think he's a little vulnerable because of that ACL. So people are going to people are going to test him. Quarterbacks are going to test him and throw to him in the early going, and I believe that he'll make them pay. I really do. I think that he'll make them pay. Now, granted, I do think he's going to show a little bit of signs of 2021, hit or miss. But that's going to be the early part of the season, I think he's going to snag, a few interceptions in the early going. Might get beat maybe a few times, but, still out there producing. And then when he really gets back to his fully generated fully healthy self, then you're gonna start seeing him just start. It's over. Like he's just gonna be start shutting down dudes, and if you do dare throw the ball his way, it's going to get picked off. So I'm just saying, I think he's going. People are going to be trying him a lot in the early going, and I think that he's going to get a lot of picks. So I'm already saying right off the bat that I'm making a bold prediction right now that I think he's going to lead the league in interceptions. Not only do I think he's going to lead the league in interceptions, he's going to win comeback player of the year. And not only is he going to win comeback player of the year, he's going to win defensive player of the year. The last DB to win defensive player of the year was Stephon Gilmore back in 2019. I think Trevon Diggs has a great shot of being able to do that as well, while coming back from an injury. So that is my little bold prediction that I have about that, because looking at him, and my goodness, I think he's got great, promise of being able to recover pretty well, off of that injury. So now I want to discuss Jordan Lewis. All right, so I kind of, discussed this in my video last night, but I'm going to, of course, explain it again, because you guys unfortunately weren't able to see it because it got copyrighted. But either way, so I'm just going to explain it, a little bit. Basically, Amon-Ra St. Brown, discussed, was on some type of podcast talking about how, when they played us last year in week 17, how there were so many different moments in the game where he was just hearing this guy barking, J-Lew. This dude just barking at him and stuff like that. And, just kind of, talking smack a little bit. And he just kind of like, who? And he kind of just, and it was kind of, insulting the way he described him. He almost described him like as if he's a nobody, when we know for a fact he's somebody. By far one of our most underrated players on our defense. And if you don't believe so, well, you just don't know football. If you don't believe that Jordan Lewis is one of our most underrated players. So either way, yeah. So he was talking about how he was just talking smack at him and stuff like that. And, and he was like, if I get a chance to play him again, I'm going after him, And it's like, dude, chill out, bruh. All right. Listen, you're coming off of a great year where you had 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns, and that's while playing with a torn oblique off the bone for the last half of the season, mind you. So you're coming off of a pretty big season, and your team as a whole, as far as team success, is coming off of a pretty big year. Going to the NFC title game and being just the doorstep away from the Super Bowl, where of course they blew a 17-point lead. But either way, look, you're feeling yourselves a little bit. Lions think that they could, potentially be the Cincinnati Bengals, a team who just, comes out of the woodworks and all of a sudden is a, contender, I still think that the Bengals can still be a contender. I just think that their contending window is starting to slowly close if they don't, figure it out this season. But, that's not what we're here to discuss, obviously, but the Lions, they think that they can be the Bengals. They think that they can just, go from being a really bad losing franchise and come out of the woodworks and all of a sudden become a true contender in the NFC. And I just have to, wait, find out, and see, because we've seen teams have a surprise season and then fall right back down to earth the next year. Think of the New York Giants, for example, in 2022. Like they just found magic that season with their rookie head coach, and then they fell kind of back down to earth last year. Things happen, but yeah. So I just don't like how the Lions just think that, they've arrived just off of one good year, like I got to see you do it consecutively. Do it a second year in a row before I can really give you your true respect, but I mean, hey, he's looking for Jordan Lewis. Well, Jordan Lewis is gonna come for you. All right, like you're coming for him. Well, he's waiting for you. But J-Lew said on an Instagram post talking about how, look, I am a very passionate player, and when I'm out there, I'm trying to give it my 100% best, on the field, and I'm not trying to make everybody out there my friend. That's just not the way I roll, especially not with somebody who's not even from Detroit, and I don't know about that last sentence that he was, talking about. I don't know what that was all about. But, as far as I like that mentality of just going out there and handling business, and just out there not trying to make friends with everybody, knowing who the enemy is. I know the Detroit Lions, they wear blue and silver just like us, but they wear a different kind of blue compared to us. So obviously it's not hard to tell the difference. They wear ocean blue, we wear metallic blue. So either way, yeah, so he knows who the enemy is, and he wants to let you know that and identify who the enemy is. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the enemy. And when I face him in week 7 or week 6 of the season, I think it's week 7. Yeah, I'm going to make sure that I give him my absolute all and give him my absolute toxicity as well. And that's what he's going to bring. He's going to bring to the table. He's going to bring that physicality, We just got to, wait and see, and see what happens. But, Jordan Lewis is slowly starting to, develop himself into really becoming a dog on the secondary, because we know that obviously last year, for about half the year, he was still recovering from that Liz Frank injury that he suffered in 2022 that just happened to be against the Lions. But, yeah, so he was recovering for basically half the year from that, Liz Frank injury. And once he finally got back to formula and started playing like J-Lew again, he started going out there. He was flying around the field, making plays. He made a few plays in that Detroit game, including an interception, but I mean, we know what he can bring to the table, and how very slept upon that he is on this secondary. So you know, real. There's some matchups, some one-on-one matchups that I'm obviously that very excited to see this year. But I guess we're going to see, a matchup of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jordan Lewis happen this season, and can't wait to watch it unfold. Wait, hold up. Oh, there it is. So, yeah, and last but certainly not least, I want to talk about these rookies on our offensive line. What I mainly want to talk about is the rebuilding of this offensive line. We know that over the course of the last several years, ever since the rookie sensations Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott first came into the league in 2016, the offensive line has been on a decline ever since. Like 2016 was the absolute peak of that offensive line. Tyron Smith, Ronald Leary, Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, and Doug Free. Because from that point forward, I mean, guys were getting older, guys were tired, guys were leaving, and the other three guys just couldn't just hold up the end of the bargain on their own. You got to be able to bring in those other couple of pieces. And, look, like for a while, we have been struggling at finding that right tackle replacement for Doug Free. But we found an undrafted free agent in Terrence Steele in 2020, of course. And listen, I understand he had a not the best year last year, but mind you, he was coming off a torn ACL. And mind you, it was in December when he got injured. So he got injured very late in the year. So it took him basically about a whole year, to truly get himself recovered. I have all the confidence in the world that Terrence Steele can definitely get back to playing at a Pro Bowl caliber level that he was playing at in 2022. Matter of fact, I believe that had he not tore his ACL, I think he could have definitely been voted to the Pro Bowl that year. It just unfortunately didn't happen. But we got Terrence Steele, and who I believe we have, figured out our right tackle problem that we had for a few years. But then, like other parts of our offensive line was starting to age. We understood that Tyron Smith was no longer he wasn't going to get any younger. All right, definitely. He was definitely not getting any younger. He was starting to now get into his 30s, and now the injuries were really starting to pile up for him. And I remember in 2021 when our offensive line for several weeks, from about weeks 2 to week 8, our offensive line was, at its absolute best. But then it all came crashing down when Tyron Smith went down with an injury. And all of a sudden, we were doing musical chairs with the offensive line after he went down. Terrence Steele was then, moved over to left tackle. And then Lyle Collins was back to his starting right tackle position, you know, and it just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same, you know. Um, and I feel like, we eventually knew that we were going to have to find Tyron Smith's replacement eventually. Um, but we thought that we found that in the 2022 NFL draft when we got the 24th overall pick, Tyler Smith out of Tulsa. And I was a little skeptical about the pick because they said that he led the nation in holding penalties until you read more between the lines. They said he was a mauler, and they say that he's very, very aggressive and physical, and that a lot of his holding penalties were coming from his physicality and aggression, not that he just can't block, you know, that his technique isn't good. No, he just would sometimes play a little too excessively when blocking. But yeah, so he's got a little bit of mean nastiness to him. And he was supposed to be a guy that was going to, set the record straight with our left tackle position eventually, when Tyron Smith either leaves or retires. But instead, we played him at left tackle, but now, since last year, we've been having him play at left guard, and he was an All-Pro at left guard and a Pro Bowler if I'm not mistaken. So, it's safe to say that don't mess with that. As far as Tyler Smith playing left guard, do not mess with that. All right, keep that as is because, as you can see, he's clearly phenomenal at left guard. So now we then find out that Tyron Smith has been released, and then he becomes a New York Jet, soon after. And so now we have a, hole at left tackle and center because Tyler Biotish became a free agent and was immediately picked up by Dan Quinn and the Washington Commanders. Well, we have a center and left tackle hole that I believe that as of right now, I think that, I'm pretty optimistic that we filled both of those holes pretty well. Starting off with the 29th overall pick, Tyler Guyton. You see, Tyler Guyton, played right tackle when he was at Oklahoma, but a reason for why he played right tackle at Oklahoma is because he was protecting his quarterback's blind side. Remember, his quarterback was Dylan Gabriel, and he was left-handed. His quarterback was left-handed. So he's protecting his blind side, playing on the right side. Now, going to the NFL, he's now blocking for a right-handed quarterback. So now they're having him block his blind side again, only this time now he's playing at the left tackle position. Now, he said, of course, about how it's not going to be that hard of a transition for me to go from right tackle to left tackle. Everything is just, the complete opposite. Everything is reversed. But of course, he did work with Duke Manyweather. And, you just can't help but just condone the guy for, his, ability, his athleticism, his footwork. I mean, the dude played basketball, so clearly all those things kind of come, come easy for him. So, but yeah, working with Duke Manyweather to work on, being able to, get his footwork right as far as working at the left tackle position, sliding and moving those feet over to the left. Those are just, the things that, that you love to see. and very high on the guy. He's huge. He's 6'8", 6'7", or something like that, 330 pounds or something. He's huge. So, and speaking of huge, let's get to the 73rd overall pick, Cooper Beebe. You see, Cooper Beebe out of Kansas State, was one heck of a road grader. I actually, put in some clips showing that in the video that I made last night, but again, copyright, so I wasn't able to keep that video up for very long. But yes, he is a road grader, a guy who great in the running game, but you'd be surprised by how great he is also in pass pro. He's very good. Footwork is nice. And just it's you're not getting by that dude, man. He's almost like vice grip in a sense. So if you are those defensive tackles in the NFC East, like Duran, if you are those defensive tackles in the NFC East, like Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter for the Eagles, or Dexter Lawrence for the Giants, well, hey, good luck. But because you're not going to win too many battles against that guy. And the fact of the matter is that I know a lot of people had their, were kind of skeptical about him going to the center position. Well, in OTAs and rookie minicamp, where, by the way, it's really about your mental game as far as your pre-snap and being able to learn the system and the playbook and stuff like that, not really what you bring to the, table as far as your physical traits. And, he did that very well, being able to show his mental game as far as his football IQ. Really have high praise about this guy. And now we have last, maybe not least, potentially not least. And you want to know what I think is funny? Is that, you got Tyler Guyton and you have Cooper Beebe, who are both all smiling, laughing, they're all jokes and giggles. And then you got Nathan Thomas over there in the back, who looks like he just means business. And when you see him out there on the field, he looks like he means business. Like I said, go check out my Nathan Thomas footage breakdown video that I made. Check that video out. I made a couple or 3 days ago. Go check that video out, because he's out there. He plays like he means business, and he's big mass. He played tackle, but I can see him being able to slide over to the guard position very well, because he's already has the size, mass, and strength to be able to play guard. And being the fact that I think that playing guard is a whole lot more easier to play than tackle, I think that he'll be able to transition over to the guard position pretty well. And what he'll bring to the table, you'll love him in the running game. Love him, because he's a very violent man, all right, who will get out there towards the second level and just knock a linebacker out of the way. And that's just what he brings to the table. As far as pass pro, I only saw one clip of him in pass pro, but he had the defensive end held in a straitjacket, so you see what the results that you get, from seeing a guy like that. Um, but yes, I am very critical of this rookie offensive line class of Tyler Guyton, Cooper Beebe, and Nathan Thomas. Because it's very, I mean, it's no secret that Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe definitely are going to have to huge pay a huge impact to this offensive line. Nathan Thomas, on the other hand, well, maybe he doesn't have to hit the ground running as quickly as the other two guys because he would have to play right guard, and we already know who plays that right guard position already right now. So, I mean, like he can just, kind of sit back and, show his, promise and potential, of course, in the preseason and continue to develop and continue to get better and maybe get some playing time during the regular season if he is in fact put on the active offensive line depth chart. But yes, to close, um, but yeah, basically to close, you see what Trevon Diggs is showing out there. He's trying to almost send a message that, listen, I'm here, I'm back, and I'm going to be back better than ever. All right. Last year, that was, unfortunately, I only got to show a little advertisement of my capability of a true top shutdown corner in the league. Now, this is about to be the act two of me trying to show that. So, and then J-Lew talking smack at Amon-Ra St. Brown during the game last season. Amon-Ra talking a little spicy about Jordan Lewis. Looking forward to, seeing him, again, this upcoming season, and can't wait to watch it unfold. And then the impact and criticalness that, these guys right here, these group of guys, can all potentially make on this offensive line as far as a rebuilding standpoint. So let me know y'all's thoughts and opinions, of course, in the comments. And, of course, that, this is Late Night Talk, episode 22. And to all my audience, to all of Cowboys Nation, this is Mr. Cowboys Fan, and we are out.